MoEngage team for having us here. MoEngage has been a partner for us for the past, I think, 8 to 9 months, and helped us a lot throughout our journey. So I'll also give you an instance in my presentation of how we had leveraged MoEngage to experiment on things which otherwise would have taken a lot of the time. So yeah, cool. So I'll discuss more on the product part of things for all the product people out there. So we are a company who are trying to financially include the blue-collar segment of our society. So the segment, when we talk about this segment, this will include the guards, cooks, maids, delivery boys, cab drivers. So the next billion users is what this is now. It has become a niche word. But this is the type of segment, this is the type of people we deal with on a day-to-day basis. These are the people who interact with us. These are the people who live amongst us. And we are trying to build financial products and services for this segment. So this segment currently is very invisible to the banks. And it has been a long time that they have remained so under the shadows. It's time that we put them on the forefront. So that's what we want to do. We started as a lending platform, and in this presentation of mine, I'll be sharing with you what our learnings has been in designing and building products for this segment specifically. What are the specific areas that they face problems in, and how do we onboard and service them better? So before I talk to you about onboarding our customers, I would like to briefly give you how a persona of what a customer looks like. So this is the bottom of the Indian employment class. So you meet Ramesh. He's a 27-year-old migrant in Bangalore. He actually works quite close to our office. So he got married a couple of years back, has a wife back home. He lives here with his colleagues in a barrack which is provided by his company, and he's the sole breadwinner of his family. Regarding his banking behavior, if you see, he owns a bank account, but the only transaction that he does with his bank account is he gets his salary once a month in his bank account, and after that he just goes to a bank and withdraws that in a single transaction with his ATM card. So this is one very interesting thing. When you talk to these people, you ask them, do you have a debit card? They'll always say no. You talk to them, you ask them, do you have an ATM card? They'll always say yes. So they recognize those small things, and you have to really get into their shoes, talk to these people to find out what actually resonates with them. And I think he used to send money home in cash, but as PhonePe has trickled down pretty well in this segment, and he now uses it for remittance quite a lot. So one of his friends introduced him to PhonePe and made his account. He was not that tech savvy enough, but yeah, thanks to him, his bank account usage has increased slightly. So yeah, and also he has a lot of free time. He just sits there out there, and just like my mom, he watches video and plays Candy Crush all day. So yeah, so one day he gets a call from his wife that he needs money, that their house roof needs some repairs, it's leaking, and his wife tells him to send 30K back home. So now this is where the trouble starts. Okay, let's see this person, and I'll first compare it to us. So anyone in the crowd, what do you do when you need money, when you need some extra money? Anyone? Can you be a bit more louder?
Borrow.
You use a credit card.
Borrow.
Borrow from?
Somebody.
You borrow from a friend. Exactly. So what do we do when we need money? When we need money is when we either go to our friends and family, or we go to a bank. And banks carry a lot of data on us. We use our savings account day in and day out. We use our credit cards. And I think just by show of hands, how many of you people know what a CIBIL score is? Everyone. How many of you own a credit card? We are the generation who takes things for granted. We have all these facilities available by banks. And banks, when we go to a bank sees how we have handled our credit cards in the past, and based on that, they are ready to lend us. Quite good for us. But what happens when Ramesh needs money? Yeah, so when Ramesh goes to a bank, banks do not know how to underwrite him at all. Banks will ask him to come a couple of times, they stand in the queues, but after that is when they'll reject him. Because this person has never shown a banking behavior in the past. like, forget the banking behavior. There was no digital footprint this person had in the past. And whatever small digital footprint this person is generating right now, banks are not allowing to leverage that today. So this is where we come in. And like, just wanted to give you a perspective of the type of the segment we are dealing with. Second, let me explain you how a typical loan journey works. And I call it typical because this has remained standard for like since ages. So earlier, people used to go to a bank, stand in a queue, fill out a 2-pager form, then provide them with proof that we exist, and then the bank would go through our credit history, they'll check how we have behaved on credit cards, and then they'll underwrite us. In the digital space today, the process still remains the same. The process still is just the 2-pager physical form has been replaced by a form which is online. It's just there on the smartphone. So banks don't lend to them. Their friends don't have any money. So yeah. Now I'll take you through a series of examples of what our experience has been, and like, will not give you a lot of theory on all this. I'll just show you what are the problems which we don't think exist and how this user behaves, and which have helped us a lot. And any of you who are working on the next billion user segment or this segment specifically, I hope it helps you a lot. So yeah, first let me address the lack of confidence. So this actually stems from a very simple experiment. It was not even an experiment. Like, there is a very standard thing in in product development which we call usability testing. And how it works is, you go to a person, you give him your product, and you ask him to just do a certain task, and then you check how that person responds to that task. And what we wanted to do was, we wanted to check what is the affinity of this person to all the complex words which are related to a loan. Say for example, does he understand an EMI better, or does he understand an installment better? So that was what we planned to do. And I myself was a part of it. And like, when I went out to when I started doing it, and I went out to the first person out there, the first thing he asked was, "Sir, यहाँ पे नाम भरना है क्या?" So I ignored it, like it was one person. But as in when we started doing more and more researches on these people, there were many more such type of people. Like, approximately 30% of people on the first name itself, on fill your name, they ask, "Sir, यहाँ नाम भरना है क्या?" And this was the same experience we had with other fields also. Even people who owned a PAN card, who knew what PAN number was, 40% of them, they asked, "Sir, यहाँ पे PAN number भरना है क्या?" And this was mind-boggling. We actually discussed a lot on it, and it took us back to how my mom started using a smartphone. There was always a lack of confidence. There was always a fear, whatever we may call it. वो एक झिझक था कि something might go wrong. I don't want to click anywhere unnecessarily. So that fear itself, when we went back and we thought, okay, why not? Then let's see and give them a similar experience. We put an audio button, a very simple audio button besides every feed, and we asked those people to just we didn't even ask them anything. If in need, if they were not able to understand something, they would click on it, and that just gave them an extra confidence. The usage was pretty high, and our funnels, we were able to increase the number of people who were successfully able to go through the whole flow by 14%, which is pretty big for a single feature. So yeah, so that was one of the instances. The second typical behavior of this segment is people are very impulsive, and yeah, so these people are very impulsive. And even when we have to get a very basic thing done from them, we might not imagine the kind of, understanding of the segment that is required. So the first time we wanted, so in our process of the loan application, we want to know what employer a person has come from. Because you have personalized the flows based on the different employers, because it makes sense that an Ola driver or a Swiggy delivery guy would always be using a smartphone and will be much more tech savvy. He'll be able to do a bit slightly more complex flows, whereas the housekeeping staff will be less tech savvy, and his flows should be quite different. So we have personalized flows based on their employers. So what is the obvious thing? Like how do you identify a person's employer is you ask. And we thought we had done it a very smart way. Like we read a lot of articles on how do you get good in a credible format, how do you ensure it is the most accurate way. You provide him with a clean UI, like you provide him with a clean UI, you provide him bigger tiles, you provide him with all the icons, and you leave nothing to imagination. And what we observed was 54% of the users selected the first option out there. So people are in a hurry. These people who do not understand a lot, they'll just click on the first button and they'll want to go ahead with it. So it's an impulsive behavior. And like 68% of the selections were incorrect. So then we thought, why not? Why like go back, provide them with what has been there since long, as you give them a search bar, you ask them to fill in what their employer name was. But given the level of education backgrounds of these people, we should have expected that they would make a lot of spelling mistakes, and that was what we did. So there was a huge drop when we like brought this thing. So our drop went from 15% to 39% at just this step. So majority of the people misspelled their employer, and we had to we should have expected that. So then at the end, what comes is your customer is always right. You align yourself based on your customer. So this was where we had to build logics and build models to whatever the person fills, you need to, how accurately you can predict what is the actual employer of that person's name. And this, now this screen currently has a less than 3% accuracy. It has a less than 3% misclassifications. So it has worked this way. So the point here is that this is one of the experiments which has failed. I just wanted to point it out that not everything works, and you might also need to realign a lot of your strategies based on what fails and what is important to you. You might also need to align a few of the resources. This is a product problem which has to be solved by data science and not by product. The third part, which is how do you deliver complex information to a segment who is not very tech savvy, who does not understand a lot. So, and anyone of you who has ever taken a loan would understand what this is. So, this is a typical NACH mandate, which is an auto debit EMI instrument on your bank account. And whatever loan you take, any bank or any lender, they'll always make you sign it. And it's getting this mandate is a very tough task. It's a tedious process for the customer. He has to download a mandate. He has to go to a printout shop, and he'll have to then get it printed. He has to sign a very specific area. A bit of a sign here and there is where it goes wrong, and then he has to upload and submit it. And this was where we were requiring close to manual. 90% of people did not even try to upload it because they were not able to understand it. So I don't think even So people did not even understand it without agent support. And so this is where we went through many iterations. I'm just taking you through what the final solution would work for best was. So divide everything what you want to tell them into micro instructions, and then support them with micro interactions. So this was something which a micro interaction, if you know, are events which have one single purpose only. Don't go for any sentence which is more than 7 words long. And so the purpose was to give them a moment where they could understand and parse each of the instruction and not have a mental overload on top of it. And our funnel here improved drastically by 48% at this step. The tags improved, there was no manual intervention required. So all sorts of. And this is something which anyone who is designing for the next billion users should take into account. This has been shown to be of great potential to us, at least. Cool. So as a final example, I would like to take you back to the same old loan process. How do you get a person through this? It's a pretty boring journey if you see. And the exact moment of joy comes at the end when the person gets the money in his hand. So what generally leads to will be, so these people, if you see, I told you all the confidence level problems that they have. Keeping them motivated to complete this journey has been was a nightmare for us. And when there is no happy moment in between, there is no aha moment, there is no motivation. So we thought, why not? Why not provide him aha moments during the whole journey itself? So we have to appreciate the user more. We have to learn, and we have to give him more and more confidence during the journey, and by introducing certain tokens of appreciation. And I think this is something which we have personalized a lot for different types of users. And this was where MoEngage had actually helped us a lot, because we could not go and start building, rebuilding the whole application process based on our hypothesis. It would have been a very, would have been a very time-consuming task. Plus, we did not even know what parts to place these tokens of appreciation in. So this is where we experimented with, at different points of the journey, we tried different messaging, different notifications, everything. And finally we were able to arrive at certain sets of flows, which were providing us with the maximum of the results. And yeah, and in our case, even the repayment confirmation, the NACH document, when we placed it after telling the person, the toughest task, place it when the person is most happy. You get him to do it at that time is when you will see the maximum results. So we divided the whole journey into several mini tasks, and each task gives him a sense of achievement and let him know that he was almost through. So yeah, so those are the primary learnings on the UX side, and which helped us onboard our customers. We have seen our funnels grow 3 to 4 times just by being very close to the customer and just by listening to them. And what my main learning and the main goal for you would be that talk to your customers. A lot of the insights we would think we know, but you have to place yourself in their shoes first and monitor them very closely. So yeah.